So today we're going to do expanding double brackets. We're going to do three different cases of this. It's really just different sign rules. However, I'm going to go case by case, and in each case there's two methods, so you can pick and choose which method. They're both satisfactory. Just depends on what you like. So, first case we're looking at is when we have both positive in the operator. So when it's x plus a number and then x plus a different number. Okay. So method one. So we have this first term, which in our first bracket, which is x, our second term in our first bracket, which is 1, our first term in our second bracket, which is x, and our second term, which is the 2. I've put them in different colors to try and help go through this, but it's the exact same process as we were doing before. So if we covered up that first red X, we'd notice that, I'll just shade it out for you so you can see a little bit better what I mean. So if we just had that, well, that right there kind of looks like just a single bracket expansion. So we end up doing this as our step 3 and 4. But step 1 and 2, we're pretty much going to do the exact opposite. We're just going to cross out this x and 1 and do x times x and then x times 2. So if you understood the linear expansion, then this will be really nice and simple. If not, there's still time. So the very first thing we're going to do, we're going to do step 1 here. And if you notice, we have this multiply the first term x in the bracket by the first term x in the second bracket. So we're going to do this x times x. Okay, so what do we get? We get x times by x, and we'll write that as x squared. Next we're going to get is we're doing first term x in the first bracket times by the second term plus 2 in the second bracket. So here we're going to do this x times plus 2. So we're going to write x times positive 2, which is 2x. Step 3. Now we're on to that second term in our first bracket, this positive 1. And here we're going to times it by the first term in our second bracket. So now we're just repeating the process with the other number in our first bracket. So we have 1 times by x, and we get just x, right? So we just drop the 1. And the last one we're going to do is the only other thing that we can multiply by. So we have positive 1 times positive 2. 1 times by 2, which is simply 2. So this last step here, step 5, and normally when you're doing the problem, you would do it all kind of together. But I like breaking up this first example always in multiple steps to try and break it apart. See where you can make your errors. So now we're just adding all these terms together. So x squared plus 2x plus x plus 2. So there's only one other thing we have to do. And notice if you always do it the way I said, then in the middle here, you are going to have two terms that are always going to include an x term, or should always. I mean, there's always a special case of everything in maths, but so here we are going to get simply, well, x squared. How do we simplify 2x and x? Well, that's 2x plus x is 3x and plus 2. So notice how we could have said simplify, and simplifying down to step 5 is great, but fully simplified would be down to the last part there is the x squared plus 3x plus 2. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same question now, but this is a different method. So some people like this method a lot more because it breaks it up and they can visualize it, but it does not matter which one you want to do. If you like the first method and you got it, I would just skip over this part right now, but let's just do the same thing. So first step for method 2 is draw a 2 by 2 grid. So as shown on the right, step 2, we're going to get move down a little bit so we can see. So write each term, including the sign, down the first bracket across the top. So notice I have my x and I have plus 1. Then down the left side, we do the exact same with the second bracket. Our next step we're going to do here is, and you only need one table, I just keep repeating it, is we're going to just multiply out where the row and column meet. So here we have this x and this x are going to meet here. So I know that in the box is x times x, or x squared. Now here, this positive 2 intersects with this x, so we're going to get 2x when we do 2 times by x. Here we have x times by plus 1, so we know that is just x, and then 2 times 1 is 2. And here our last step is going to be add together all the terms in the grid. So as long as you included the signs on, say with my positive 1 and positive 2, as long as you include the signs, then you just add all the terms together. So I always put my x squared term at the start. That's just convention in maths, followed by terms of x, so 2x plus x, and lastly the plus 2. And notice once again we have this 2x plus x term in the middle that we want to bring together and write as 3x. So doesn't matter which method we did, we still got the exact same answer. So now get a little bit of practice, so you may pause the video right now. Once you're ready, press play, and then we'll go through the answers. All right, so let's go through the first one here. So we have x plus 1 times by x plus 1. So here we're going to take first term, right? First term by first term, multiply those together. So we have x times by x, and then we go our x times by the positive 1, so plus x times by 1. Then we look at our second term in our first bracket. So we have 1 times x, so we get 1 times by x. And our second one, we have 1 times by 1. So we have 1 times by 1. So here we get x times x, which is x squared. X times by 1 is just x. 1 times x is just x. And 1 times 1 is just 1. So in the end, we're going to write that fully simplified as x squared plus 2x plus 1. Next problem. So here, we're going to do x times x. So here we're going to get x squared again. So here's a little thing that maybe you've noticed with, if you always do the first term times the first term, you're always going to get your x squared, so it'll kind of order itself. Then we're going to do x times by positive 1, so that is just x. We have 2 times by x as our next, so we get 2x. And lastly, 2 times 1 is simply 2. Moving on to the third, we have x times x, x squared. And we have x times 2, we have 2x, x times, whoops, sorry, not x, 2 times by x. So we get another 2x, and 2 times 2, which is 4. Keep in mind, always simplify those middle two terms. So 2x plus 2x is 4x plus 4. If you get in the hang of just simplifying always, it's not only practicing your collecting like terms section, but also ensuring that you don't miss on those really easy marks. If you've done all the hard work, might as well just do the easy work to finish it off. So here, next one, we have x times x. So we're going to get x squared, as always. So if you just have an x and x, you're always going to get that x squared term. The only thing that is going to differ is if you have a coefficient out front of our x term. So we'll do x times 3, 3x. Moving to our second term in our first bracket, 2 times by x, 2x. and 2 times by 3, which is 6. Means in the end, we're going to have x squared plus 5x plus 6. This last one looks a little bit different, and I added this one on purpose just to show you where we kind of go with some of this in maths. So when you see something like this, well, what does squared mean? Okay, because we don't actually have it doesn't look like a double bracket right now, does it? But we know that squaring something means that we're multiplying the whatever's the base by itself. So we're just going to write that base out. Well, our base is x plus 3, right? Because it's all in brackets. So therefore, we can write another x plus 3 before it, or beside it, sorry. Now this looks kind of like our third one here, where it's just a repetition. Kind of all deliberately too, I'm not going to lie. So we do x times x squared. Let's try that again. X squared, x times 3, we get 3x. And we're doing 3 times x, so we get another 3x. And lastly, that 3 times 3, which is 9. So we're going to get our completely simplified answer at x squared plus 6x when we add those two 3x terms together, and plus 9 on the end. So we're completely done. So next video, we'll be going over the next case.